All right. Hey everyone, Brent here for a fall semester recap of the 23-24 season. Normally I do a letter to our parent group, but I felt this year it'd be better to do a video. And also Sydney and I thought we could be hashtag YouTube stars, and probably not, but we're trying. Why not? Just kind of going to go really quick, brief, like kind of the beginning of what our season looked like, jumping into our dual meet, and then kind of wrap up with Bruin and to where we are right now. So this year we started very different than we ever had before. Unfortunately, the pool heater that was being done over the summer, that project was really delayed. And so we started off season with really cold water, 70 degrees. And yeah, it was definitely tough. We ended up modifying pretty heavily to only being in the water for an hour and then doing about 30 minutes of dry land daily. We did that for about 2 weeks, and then the third week, we were very fortunate to be able to go to Salem Swim and Tennis Club and swim there as the heater was getting finally turned on. So finally, week 4 is when we started really getting going and finishing up our technique work, and moving from there. So that took us to about very beginning of October. Shortly thereafter, we had our first dual meet of the season. We swam against Southwestern Oregon Community College, which is a junior college or community college here in Oregon that we always swim against. They're one of the top programs in the nation, so it's always a good dual meet for us. The men ended up losing the meet, but really, I don't focus too much on the score. What I focus on is how did we swim, and we swam really well. And I think that's going to be kind of a theme throughout the dual meet season for our men is they're going to swim really well. They're going to make everybody earn those wins against us. But right now in a dual meet situation, we just do not have the bodies to really compete. Unfortunately, that's one of the problems of being a smaller team. But still really good swims all the way around at that opening dual meet. The women, on the other hand, the women won the meet. It was the first time we've won in a couple years, so very exciting. Again, really good swims from the women. We do have a larger women's team, so it's nice to be able to have finally that kind of diversity of event selection. We can pull some people from events, put other people in that maybe they don't go the exact same time, but hopefully they get the exact same placing. So that was really nice and kind of allowed us to see early season what that may look like. A couple weeks later, we rolled into this relay and sprint meet for the Northwest Conference. The men finished 4th for both of those. I believe I should have notes with me, but I don't. And then the women finished 1st for the relay meet and 3rd for the sprint meet. Really fun meets overall. Again, very non-traditional, but time the women time for first with UPS was a little bit of a surprise. Hopefully in the spring we can have a really good dual meet with them. They're swimming really fast right now, but I think we can give them a good meet. Then we jump over to our first dual meet, which is a travel meet up to Tacoma. We swam Pacific Lutheran University. Very much like SWAC for the men. This was going to be a closer meet, just with Pacific Lutheran having less people on their men's team as well. Ultimately, though, the men did fall. But again, really, really good swims. We swam without Julius for that meet. He was coming off an injury. He's back fully healthy now. But that was kind of tough not having Julius for that. But again, the men swam really well, really excited from that perspective. And then we jump over to the women's team. The women lost by 1, unfortunately, right? So 2 points from that W, but that's the closest loss that we've had since I've been here and since I could look back to records from 2009. I think the previous closest loss was 37 points. So for our women to come that close, I think that's a big testament to what we're doing and how we're building that program up. Fast forward a couple weeks to Whitman Whitworth. We swam, again, starting with the men's team, swam really well against Whitman, the defending national conference champions. We saw the talent diversity that we or not talent disparity that we have with them. Again, our men swam really well, right? We made them earn everything that they got. And again, we swam really well. I was really excited. It's probably some of the best distance races we've seen this year before Bruin Invite came out of those 2 meets. And then against Whitworth, a team that's really reloaded, right? Their men are looking very good for the conference meet in February. And that was a tough meet for us on the men's side. Again, swam really well, picked up a couple event wins here and there, but that one again, I think Whitworth is going to probably run away with the conference when we get to that meet in February. So all I said, our men went 0-3 with SWAC not counting officially toward our record, but I was really pleased with how they swam overall, and I think that will show when we get to Bruin here in a couple seconds here. The women against Whitman, again, swam really well, swam just as hard as we did against PLU. I think, again, like on the men's side, we kind of see that talent disparity where Whitman is just really deep along the talent lines as well as the body lines. And so they definitely just had deeper talent than we did. But I think at the end of the day, we swam really well against them. I didn't check that point spread as far as loss wise. It was pretty large on our end. But the meet didn't feel that way, right? And I think that's the thing with dual meets is dual meet scores can be deceiving, where a meet may look on paper like a really big loss, but not feel like a really big loss in the pool. And that's how the Whitman meet felt, at least for me. Moving over to Whitworth, hard fought meet on our women's side. Unfortunately, we did end up losing that meet by 10, but again, that's the closest we've probably ever lost to them in a very long time. I talked to Steve, their head coach, and I said, Steve, do you remember the last time we were even within 10 points of you? And he's like, honestly, I can't remember. And I didn't take that as a sign of like him bragging or anything. I think that was more of a sign of like, again, kind of moving our program in the right direction. So our women, excuse me, also went 0-3 in the conference, but again, two really close losses that with a couple different swims could have gone either way. I would say for me, the most exciting swims on the men's sides were definitely out of the Whitman Whitworth with Nicholas Moore's out touching in the mile and out touching in the 1,000. Often don't come down to a touch, but Nick gave us those awesome races. And then on the women's side, I would say it's the fact that our medley relay went undefeated during the dual meet season. It didn't matter if it was the 200 or 400. They won every relay. Often, I don't want to say often from behind, but I feel like 2 or 3 of them we did come from behind for that win. So that was super awesome as well. And so that took us into Bruin, right? Right after Thanksgiving break, coming up to Bruin Invite. Really good meet for us. It was us, Pacific Lutheran, Pacific, Lewis and Clark, and George Fox. And, going into that meet, what I thought the closest we could get was probably second on the men's side. Just George Fox has a lot of men and that they're going to score more points than we were. And then, ideally would have been first on the women's side. I knew that was going to be hard with Pacific Lutheran there, but I thought that's what we had. But I didn't put those expectations on the teams. Like that was my own personal expectations. All I wanted from them was to swim fast, which we did. We had a great meet. Lots of fast swims, a handful of personal bests, obviously a lot of season bests. When you're suited, that always helps. And then I ended up coming out of that meet with some really top times in the conference. The women are number 3 in the conference right now in a couple of the relays. The men, I think, are 4th or 5th in the 200 free relay. Looking at our top swimmers like Julius, Nicholas, Logan, Cole, Kevin on the men's side, and that's not to disrespect anybody else who we have on our men's team, but they're all really highly placed in the conference. And then looking on the women's side with Elena, Tessa, Lydia, Jacqueline, Tatum, Emma. I'm sure I'm missing people. Anna Hornbeck. They are all really high up there as well, and so I think it's going to make for a really exciting conference meet for us. For that meet, swims of the meet for me would probably be the men's 200 free. That was just neck and neck the whole way through. And then it was our third person went in, which I think it was Kevin. No, who was our third person that went in on the relay? I don't remember. Sorry. But that's where we kind of edged out, and then Julius brought it home to take that win, which was super exciting. Again, very unexpected with the teams that were there. And then on the women's side, that one's a little bit harder because we had so many good swims. And again, not that the men didn't have good swims, but just that relay was so standout-ish. And then I think with the women, looking at individuals like Tessa's 400 IM and her 200 fly, Elena in the 50, 200, Tatum and Jacqueline in the 200 IM, Anna in the 100 and 200 breaststroke, Sarah in the 200 breaststroke, Sarah in the mile. Just a lot of really, really good individual performances that overall led to a really good team performance. And of course our relays, up to Pacific Lutheran, they ended up beating us in a good number of those relays, but, we fought back on the individual side and swam really well. And so we did end up finishing first for the women, which was super exciting. There was some little bit of controversy with the score at the end with what the score is actually read out, where we said we initially tied with PLU. And then getting that corrected, it didn't have the mile results in there. But yeah, ending up winning for the women. So back-to-back champs at Bruin Invite, which is super exciting. And then the men did finish in second by a good, healthy margin. And so, looking forward to conference, right? What does that mean? I think what it means is it's going to be a really competitive fight for where we finish on both the men's team and the women's team. The men's team, if I'm seeing what I see right now, I think it's going to be Whitworth, UPS, Linfield, and Whitman all ahead of us on the men's side. But then it's going to come down to George Fox, us, Lewis and Clark, and Pacific Lutheran, who can put together a good 3.5-day meet. You know, I know George Fox has more men than we do, but I think at the conference level that actually might not be a big an issue for us. I think our top talent definitely can outscore their top talent, and then I think our next people down can definitely score that as well. On the women's side, you know, at the top end, I think it's going to be Whitman, UPS. We'll see about Linfield. And then I think it's going to come down to us, Pacific Lutheran, and Whitworth for the 4th, 5th, and 6th spot. I would love to finish 4th, obviously. That'd be the highest we've probably ever finished in a very long time. But at the end of the day, we're going to go in, we're going to swim fast and give our best and see what we can do. You know, that applies to both the men and the women. So I am really excited for where we are right now, and I think it's going to be a fun spring. You know, right now we're wrapping up finals. This is the last day of finals. Sorry, this video is a week late, but I guess better late than never. And then, you know, they're going to go into their break, and we'll come back for winter training down in Coronado, and we'll come back to Salem a week later and more or less jump right into the spring season. And then, you know, mid-February, we'll go off to conference, and we'll see there. So, you know, we'll do another one of these videos probably at the end of conference. Maybe we'll do a pre-conference video if I can convince Sydney that that's a good idea, or if I feel like that's a good idea. But before we end up here, Sydney, anything you want to add about the fall?
Everything he said.
Thanks. So, yeah, with that, just again, thank you so much for all your support. We really could not run this program the way we do without your support. So just thank you. For anyone who celebrates, happy holidays. I hope you enjoy having your Bearcats at home, and we will definitely all see you at a meet soon. Go Bearcats.